Do you run a barbershop, but understand that it's very different than running a salon? Well, today we're going to talk about those differences with my partner who runs both. Let's do it. Salon owners are some of the most amazing people on planet Earth. The only problem is sometimes their hearts are so big and they give so much of themselves to their staff and guests that it creates unintended consequences. Our goal is to change the industry by elevating the way the rest of the world sees salons, spas, and barbershops and give it the credibility that it truly deserves. This is the Salon Owner Evo Revo Show. Today's podcast is brought to you by Salon Scale, allowing you to charge by what you know, not by what you feel. What's going on? Welcome to today's Evo Revo Show. It's Jason and Doug hanging out with you and kicking it. If you're on with us live and you're hanging out with us, do me a favor and say, I'm here. Say, I'm here in the chat. We'd love to know if you're on and you're hanging out with us live. Watching the video, it helps us kind of wrap our mind around who you are, who's hanging out with us live, and do me a favor, type in the city that you're on from. I'd love to find out a little bit more because we sometimes get people from all over the world, and it's fun to see whether you're right here in my backyard or you're all the way across the world. Thanks for joining us here on today's podcast. Today's topic is barbershops. Doug, we talk about this a lot because, a lot of things, it's really hard, right? A lot of things are labeled. Like Salon Scale, for example, at the beginning of the commercial. Lots of things are labeled for salons. We talk about salon, spas, and then barbershop gets like third string draft pick right at the end. It's like, oh, and by the way, barbershops. And I think for a lot of people, they realize that barbershops are a totally different beast. You own several salons and barbershops, right? So, and why did you choose to have not only salons but also barbershops? And I'm gonna grill you today if that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, we just wanted to do the barbershop thing because we wanted, I guess, our biggest thing when we first did the first barbershop at the old salon location when we switched buildings. We wanted, especially young men and boys to be able to come with their dads and have a barbershop experience and not have to go into a salon and have a salon, because we have several young guys that have grown up coming with their mom to the salon. And that's just a different thing than going with your dad to a barbershop.
It is. It very much is. Right. I mean, I remember I grew up going to a barbershop. Like I remember Donovan, my very first barber, Donovan the barber. He had the Krusty the Clown haircut. He was like balding on top, had big poofy hair out to the side, straight up Krusty the Clown. I don't know why we thought he'd be an adequate barber to keep my hair in check, but I remember going to those barbershops. And yeah, man, a barbershop was very different because you go into a salon and it's a whole different, there's color treatments and processes and dryers. And as a guy, you're like, I don't need any of this. Why is this nearby me, right? And then now you've got all these boutique style barbershops, right? You've got all these, there's like franchises and barbershops. I was just listening to a comedian, and you got, different style barbershops for different types of hair too. Like that's a whole nother thing too. Like a barbershop is its own whole experience and should be a very different experience for men sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so it went to an evolution, barbershops, up till the 70s, probably. I think in the 80s is when it started to change, because the problem was a lot of barbers at that point, you went in and they gave you what they wanted to give you. They didn't really care what you wanted.
There's no consultation. Right. There's no consultation at the barbershop. They're like, what do you mean you want something else? This is what I'm going to give you.
Go in there and you sit down and you say, I'd like this, this, and this. They say, whatever. And, just did their thing. And, some of them started aging out and people weren't getting back into that. So that's really whenever guys started. And, in the 70s, too, the hair was longer. And so I think that's what led people into the salons as they're doing the salon experience. Yeah. But probably over the last, 15 years ago, there's really been a renaissance in trying to bring back the classic barbershop.
The art of barbering, for sure.
Right, and get the reputation back of that you can get a good quality cut. And there's still some barbershops that do the thing that you have to just walk in and get in a queue and wait. But in today's world, that really doesn't work.
Let's talk about this because there are some differences, right? And if you own a barbershop, would you guys do me a favor? Type in barbershop if you're on hanging out with us and you actually rock a barbershop. I'd love to know more. Or if you're a salon owner, you're like, hey, maybe I should own a barbershop too. Doug, would you recommend that as a salon, maybe they should branch out and own a barbershop as well? Or would you say that's something that can be challenging? How would you advise somebody on that? Maybe they're like, oh, I didn't realize we're treating men the same as we treat women.
And you got to realize that it's a different beast. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different animal, and you've got to set it up differently. The biggest mistake I
Mhm.
have seen some people do it. Like, I don't know why I ever opened up that barbershop. It's just, and they didn't. They didn't. They tried to run it like they're in their salon,
Yeah.
and that's not going to work. I mean, what they're doing a much higher volume of people. It's a
Right.
completely different vibe. So
So
your pay structure's got to be a little different. You got to look at your levels, or the jumping in between levels. You got to come up with your own levels to do that, because it's predominantly in the barber business is a booth rental. People rent booths and they do that stuff, and a lot of it's under the table. A little sketchy. But it's good where you can bring people on, you create that team culture and create that environment
right.
where people want to work there and be in it and come and do what they enjoy doing, and get a W-2 so that you can go to the bank and get a loan for a car, get a loan for a house. But yeah, you do have to compete with. There's a lot of booth and there's a lot of crazy. I've heard some crazy
Well,
examples of what.
let's take this on, because I think this is a really important way to talk about this, Doug. Is that our mission is to elevate the way the rest of the world sees the beauty industry, right? And that includes salons, spas, barbershops, like that. That's our jam every single day. And I think you nailed something, which was like, there's this renaissance of barbering, but the idea of barbering is like, it still is this like, well, I'll just kind of let you do what you're gonna do, and like we're not gonna run it like a real business, and like we're just gonna kind of do what we need to do. You cut hair, and we'll just figure out a way to make it work. That kind of lack of running a business like a business contributes to all kinds of problems. And I think you nailed one, which is like, well, okay, so you're, like, and I know barbers do this all the time. Well, pay me on Venmo and put down something else besides a haircut on Venmo, because I don't want the government to know that I'm making money from this. I'm like, well, first of all, if you're using a tool like Venmo, they're gonna know. Right, they're gonna know. Oh yeah, well, you seem to go in and mow the lawn every 4 to 6 weeks over at this guy who runs a barber shop that magically gets paid about the price of a haircut. Every so like they're gonna know.
Yeah, and Venmo's gonna fly because Venmo's getting heat from the government now too, because so many
Sure,
people are using it. There's
using it to run a micro business.
last I heard it was $8,000. I heard somewhere else the other day somebody said it's down to $5,000.
If you make that much in a year,
If that much goes to your Venmo account, and they don't care where it comes from,
right?
They're going to 1099 you, because they're like, okay, this isn't money going between friends. This is a business.
It's a significant, you're trying to run a business through something that's not set up that way, and it's going to bite you.
Right. So, I mean, the idea is you got to set up a culture and a business where people can come in, do what they love to do, be in an environment that's cool, and work together as a team and not have to worry about all that stuff. So you got to figure, what does my pay structure need to be? How does it work? The way we always figure things is how do I protect my profit first? Because that's the whole reason you go into business. It's the same reason if you go to a job, you expect a paycheck. So if you open a business, you should expect profit.
Well said.
But that's shocking to some people. But anyway,
it's shocking because it's not normal. It shouldn't be shocking for why you should have a business. But I've heard this complaint, Doug, is people say, well, at a barbershop, like in a salon, you might say, well, hey, paying 50% commission on something inside of a salon is great. So 50% goes to the salon, 50% goes to the stylist. That's good. But in a barbershop, they're like, how dare you take my money out? Because again, a lot of times they're like, I'm just doing the cut. So why are you taking out anything from me? So either make me a booth rental or only take out 30%, 35%. Right. And barbers will argue that that's highway robbery. You're stealing from them, even though you're giving them a place to work, you're advertising for them, you're filling the bit, like all those things. Right. Well, that can be really complicated.
Our training that we did, booth rental versus commission. I mean, it's the same deal. If you actually work out the real numbers that they're paying for a booth and doing all the other things, it's like the barbershop owner, they're not keeping all that money. They're paying rent, they're paying power, they're putting all the equipment in there, maintaining all the equipment, paying for a front desk person.
It's a lot. I mean, and most of them don't know their numbers well enough to make the argument to what you just did, right? Most of them just go, well, yeah, I guess I probably am robbing you. And they don't know their numbers well enough.
They don't. Even the owners of the barbershops haven't really looked at it and understand the numbers. That's like we try to set up with a formula. So where you say, okay, if I want to make this much profit, which it's okay to make profit, that's why you go to open a business. Then you work your way backwards and you see what you can afford to pay, and then you get your price structure right, so you can figure out those things so that you don't. Cause probably when people try to duplicate what they're doing in the salons, it just doesn't work.
So the structure's got to be different. Because barbering's you said this, right? Barbering is a volume-based industry. I mean, you're cutting way more. I mean, even you're doing shave, you're doing haircuts, you're doing all kinds of stuff. It's a volume game. So can you give some examples, Doug, of like what are some of the key differences? So number one is obviously pay structure. Pay structure is going to be different, right? So what you pay your barbers is going to be different. What else is going to be different about a barbershop?
Like in their levels. So they, instead of jumping 2%, they jump 1%. Instead of prices going up $4 when they jump, they go up $2 when they jump. And just because that's harder to sustain those bigger. And there again, that's because that's what you can afford to do and still make money. If you're going to,
if you're paying attention to your profit and how the structure works.
Right.
So
but the idea is they come in and, so having a front desk, having a scheduling operating system, having online schedules, that's the thing. It's, if you work for the right barbershop, it should make your life easier. You should feel spoiled that, you come in and you just pull out your tools and you just bang out some really cool hair all day long.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the marketing and the advertising, keeping up your Instagram page.
All your supplies are there. You're not trying to book people while you're trying to do a cut or in between.
Right, making sure you don't miss that client message that they text you and need an appointment slot while you're cutting somebody's hair, all that stuff.
And you've got the opportunity to sell retail because people are at bars. Most of the time, the reason they don't
that was another big one.
Right.
Because people say that, right? They say, no, men don't buy any retail product.
Yeah, and that's a horrible misconception.
Right? Because they're just not buying it from you.
So the reason it's like it's a domino effect because a lot of barbers are booth renters. Then they're not in a place where there's very good retail selection. And they're probably not compensated very well for selling in retail if they're in a booth rental type of situation. So they just don't sell it. There's no reason. There's not enough there to sell. I don't really get compensated for them, so why do I care? So putting in where they can make up to 20% off of what they're selling and make sure that they have a wide array of stuff to sell. But men are some of the most loyal product users on planet Earth.
Totally.
If you solve their problem, if you give them a tool as a styling tool that will solve their problem and make what their hair look the way they want to look every day and feel the way they want it to feel, they're done. They don't want to rethink this. I don't want to shop it around. I don't need to.
Right. And I don't need to go to 15 stores to price shop it. You got it here right now. I will leave with it. Guys,
I'll take simple. It. And then whenever it works, I mean, it's one of the things we offer, Baxter, I do a little commercial here for Baxter.
Oh, yeah. Baxter, I've done some stuff with them.
So Baxter makes a deodorant that is all natural. It doesn't have the aluminum and all the other stuff that's supposed to cause all the problems. The problem with most natural antiperspirants or whatever deodorants, they just don't work. They don't work very well. This one actually works really well. It works better than the regular stuff for me anyway. And it's a pricier item. I think it's like $15, but
if you solve the problem and it works, then people will buy it. And by the way, I want to keep on this topic because we're talk heavy about men and retail. When we come back, we got to take a quick break, and I want to talk about what you can do to massively increase your profit in a barbershop when we come back after the short break. Let's do it.
Hey, HPSA listeners, let me ask you this. Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you on every appointment and watching it chew up your profit? Well, with Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you. Using a mobile app paired with a Bluetooth scale, Salon Scale will tell you exactly what your color is costing you on every bowl mix down to the gram. As you mix, Salon Scale will also digitally store your formulas and track how much product is being used in real time, so you can manage your inventory, cover your expenses, and generate more profit in your salon. Use promo code HPSA10 to get 10% off an annual subscription. Salon Scale, the new standard for mixing color.
So we're talking barbering, we're talking barbershops, and how you can actually make still a very good profit from owning a barbershop. But there's some subtle differences between barber and salon, and there's some not so subtle differences between barbering and salon. So Doug, who's got barbershops in Pensacola, Florida, as well as salons down there, and also my business partner in crime over here, owns both. And we've been talking about how do we change their level structure? How do we change their pay? How do we make sure those things are in a way that barbers can wrap their mind around? But I think there's a missing component of retail, because I think men want to be educated on how to do things outside of what they've done. And again, a lot of times, and I've talked to a lot of barbers, Doug, that say this. They're like, well, I don't get to make my money from cut and color. I don't get to make, that if I work with women, that's how I'm going to make my money. But in barbering, I think there is a total different category that a lot of barbershops, I think, miss out on, is on this whole industry has been created around shaving. Like the stores that are the art of shaving, right? I mean, there's a whole retail store called the Art of Freaking Shaving that's just there to teach you how to shave, because men were like, nobody taught me how to deal with this beard. Nobody taught me what razor I need to have or how I need to trim the line at my neck, and do I shave this part? Like, what do I do? And men are so desperate to be educated, and they will not ask. They're not going to ask. They're just going to do whatever the hell they've been doing, and they're not going to go find it. So if you're a barber, if you run a barbershop, you've got a fantastic opportunity to create. And again, how many retail products go along with shaving, Doug?
Quite a few.
Right?
There's a pre, there's a cream, there's a post, and now there's some really good lines out there. Redken redid their lines a couple of years ago. It took them forever to do it, but once they did it, it's a pretty good line. They came as a Redken Brews. The
Redken Brews line. We talked about Baxter for men, like for hair care.
Ruzel's another good line. But I'm saying there's a lot of good, and there's a ton more out there. I'm not trying to leave anybody out. There's a ton. But the thing about it is that they've got a pretty good line from all the way from shampoo, conditioners, even hair loss shampoo, conditioners help you keep what you got, that type of thing.
Totally.
And then to soaps, to deodorants, to all these different things. And so work with your barber, finding that packaging that looks good, that feels good, and it's a good product that does
what masculine, not a big gift basket.
Right. Because guys do want their problem solved. You solve their problem. Right. It's like, if you've ever been in a barbershop, you watch one where people know how to prescribe the right retail. It's a relatively easy thing. I mean, they just ask the right questions, have slightly different conversations. Say, well, if we're talking about this is going to make the difference, because you put this in your hair and you work outside and you sweat all day, this shampoo is going to be things really going to get all that gel out and the sweat and grime from the day. You're actually going to, so this is going to work perfect for you. Great. Got it. I mean, it's like, that's it. I mean, as soon as you said, this is the thing that's going to solve the problem we just talked about.
That problem, this solves it. Yeah. I think there's a song, Doug, if there was a problem, I'll solve it. I'm pretty sure that's all they need to do. Now, I also want to say this, because I'm going to talk about something that if you own a barbershop, you might not be considering, but I want to talk about it because I've worked with a lot of large brands, and men's skincare is something that I think a lot of people don't even pay attention to. It's not even on their radar. And if you own a barbershop and you're like, oh, men's skincare, why would I even talk about men's skincare? Men's skincare is one of the largest emerging markets that exists right now. And here's the problem, is that women often go into large department stores to go buy skincare. They go in, they check out the makeup counters, and they're constantly talking about makeup and skincare and all these things. But I really do believe that if you're going to catch a guy and you're going to start talking about skincare, you're going to start talking about like, hey, what do you do? They're like, I'm a contractor. I do all this stuff all day. And you might not be like, well, let's put these lotions and potions on your face. But when you talk about like, hey, how do you wash your face at the end of the day just to make sure you don't, what are the problems that you deal with? And if you have a really good consultation, even in a barbershop, and say, what are some of your concerns? Oh, my hair gets scraggly, my hair does this, or, I get sweat all the time. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you start talking about a level of like, look, here's how you take care of your beard, and here's how you take care of your neck, and here's how you take care of your face. By the way, do you wash your face with anything at the end of the day? Because I know you work your face off all day, well, literally face off all day outside. You have an opportunity for skincare. So I think this is where a ticket that you might go, well, look, no men's going to buy a haircut for $25 or more than $25, $35, $45, whatever it's going to be for a men's haircut, is the opportunity for men's retail tickets to be as large or larger then the cost of the haircut with proper education is massively missed inside the industry because there's this myth out there that men don't buy retail.
Right. And so the thing about it is, if you educate your barbers that are working for you, they have the opportunity to make 20% off that. So they can make another $300 or $400 a month, working the same number of hours, just having a different conversation. But you got to empower them to be able to do that. Because what's cool with barber chairs too, because they recline to do the shaves and all, you also can do mini facials. You don't call them mini facials, but you do skin treatment with the hot
skin
towel,
treatment.
Right. The whole 9 yards. It's like your beard. I mean, if you have a beard, you know that it's a different beast than what's up here. So you've got to treat it there. There's different things that you need to do to make your beard work the way that it should work. But I mean, it's about having the right conversation. I mean, because the guys are look at all the commercials that are on TV and everything else. It's because guys want to know. They know it's one of the fastest growing markets. And so if you grab a hold, but that is a problem with the barbering industry. It's because there's so many independent contractors. They just don't. I mean, any independent contractor is not going to carry a large retail selection. And usually the place
they're definitely not going to carry skincare. They're not going to carry razors. But can I just tell you, like, guys have so many things. And as a guy, I'll sell myself out. Doug, I think you're a different breed because you have salons and barbershops. But guys will have the same shaver or whatever for 100 years. Like, are you carrying high-end razors that they can purchase? Are you carrying whatever you're using? You're like, hey man, by the way, what do you use at home? They're like, Bic #2, whatever, single blade razor. You're like, well, hey man, I noticed, like, do you tend to break out down here or not? Like, how do you do that? What type of razor are you using? What's going on? And when they just tell you whatever, they're like, I'm using whatever crap my wife buys me. Like that's a big part of how they operate. But if you can educate them and tell them what you're using and why you're using it and how you're using it and what the problem is that you're solving by using it, all you have to do is say, hey man, do you want to try this? Just literally, this is what you would ask. Do you want to try this between now and the next time you come in? Tell me how it works. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's not a big pitch. It's not a big formal thing. You don't have to like put it in a basket for them and all that stuff. Just say like, hey man, do you want to try this between now and the next time we meet and let me know how it works? And they'll probably be like, yeah, that's fine.
I think what's cool too, that's kind of thing just kind of happened. We didn't intend for it to happen because you get some of the nice razor sets, whether it's straight razor or butterfly razor, but it comes with the brush and the cream. It's a nice little set. Well, what's happened is that a lot of fathers have started buying them for their sons when they get old enough to shave. So it's kind of like a rite of passage. So and those things are like $125, $150 for the set, but it's like a big deal. It's like, and that kid's probably going to keep it for 20 years.
Dude, it's massive. It's massive.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunities. But the thing is, those type of things don't happen unless you're working in a commission thing where it's a team effort and you're pooling the resources of everybody to be able to create the best environment for the barbers to earn the most they can and for the guests to have the best experience that they can. That only happens in that. And so hopefully things will start to swing back in that direction. And there'll be people. I think the thing is, people try to open up a commission-based barbershop treating it like a salon, and that doesn't work.
That's good.
So you got to come up with a better formula because the concept of it works. You've just got to create it a little bit differently. And the independent contractor thing, I mean, there's going to end up in decline again before long because it's just it doesn't work.
It's too hard to maintain. It's not growing, and that's going to create issues. So, guys, if you learned how to run your your barbershop more like a business today, do me a favor and say business in the comments. But I just want to make sure, I want you guys to hear this, is it when you can learn from other barbershops of what they're doing and how they're growing and what they're doing, that makes a massive difference. And we have several people who have salons and barbershops inside of our community for the High Performance Salon Academy. And again, we really want to make sure that in the business of beauty, salons, spas, barbershops, and everything in between all get counted in that category to help you guys grow, help you earn money. And if you want more help and assistance with growing your barbershop, please let us know. We have lots of experience in that arena and would love to support you. So do me a favor and send me a DM and just say barbershop if you want some help on growing your barbershop, setting up your commission structure right, getting people paid correctly, and making sure you can maximize your retail. Because my guess is whatever you're making right now, there's probably about half of that from what you're making right now that's missing in retail profit somewhere inside your business if we're paying attention to it. So let's chat about that. Let's get you making some money. And I know you love what you do as a barber, but let's love what you do and earn a healthy income doing it. Doug, thanks for letting me grill you about barbershops today. It's been fun. Thank you, man. All right. Have a good day.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Evo Revo podcast. Today's podcast was brought to you by Salon Scale, allowing you to charge by what you know, not by what you feel. Please subscribe, leave us a review, and you can always get more information, including show notes and the video episodes at evorevopodcast.com.